Welcome to Halachot and Niddah. This will be part 19 of the class. Today's topic, forgot the count of the interval cycle. We've been discussing in the previous classes, a woman can have a few vestot. One of them is the Ona Benunit. The second one is Veset HaChodesh. The third one is Veset HaHaflagam, the interval cycle. Keep that in mind, Veset HaHaflaga is the interval cycle. Rav David Yosef Shlita in his Sefer Taharat Abayit is going to go ahead and he's going to try to discuss the issue of what happens if a woman forgot her last interval cycle. She doesn't remember. Are we going to say that next time around she has to stay away from her husband all the days that she has a doubt, maybe one of those days is going to be the interval cycle? Or are we going to say, no, don't be afraid, have relations with him? Before we start the halacha, just want to make a small introduction. Why can't this happen by Ona Benunit? Why can't I say that a woman might forget her Ona Benunit? Why can't I say a woman might forget Veset HaChodesh? Why can't I say those things? Because when it comes to Ona Benunit, what is Ona Benunit? Ona Benunit is the average 30-day cycle of a regular woman who's not established. So if a woman saw on a certain date of the month, you count 30 days from there, you got your own benefit, so you know when you have to stay away from your wife. So therefore you can't really forget when it's on a benefit. That you can't forget. Because if you know you saw her on date X, you'll know on date Y, that's when you have to stay away from him. It's all you have to do is calculate 30 days. Also by Veset HaChodesh, you can't have this problem of forgetting. Why? Because very simple. If a woman sees on the 2nd of the month, next time around, on the 2nd of the month, she has to stay away from her husband. You go after the date. So it's not very hard to remember. But the Veset HaHaflagot, the interval cycle, there's a very high chance they might forget, especially if they don't write it down. Why is that? Because you have to imagine for yourself, imagine a woman establishes a interval cycle. Let's say the first time she saw her on date X, the second time she saw her on date Y. So now since I have two seeings, I'm going to count how many days from one seeing to the next. Let's say it's 25 days. Good. So watch this, Rabotai. Let's do this. If she saw her over here on day X, and then on day Y, so let's say this is a 25-day cycle. Now, next time she sees is not 25 days. Next time she sees is 27 days. From the second time to the third time. Again, really it's first to second. When I'm starting from here, again, it's first to second. Same thing, first to second. Okay, guys? I'm just showing you like this, but I'm just saying second to third just to make it a little bit easier. So let's do this, Rabotai. A woman saw on date X, doesn't matter which date. Then she saw the second time on date Y. The Haflaga period is 25 days. For example, the third time around, she saw a 27-day period, an interval of 27 days. The fourth time when she saw from the third time is 29 days. I could continue like this. The next time she saw is 26 days. The next time she saw is 25 days, 28 days, 24 days. When it comes to Veset HaHaflagot, it's always changing. Since it's always changing, there's a very high chance she might forget. So watch this. Rav David Yosef Shlita in the Sefer Taharat Abayit is going to tell us like this. This woman, let's say, after in a span of 6 months, she saw many haflagot, many interval cycles. Some were 25, some were 24, some were 26, some were 29, some were 28, some were 27. Now, in the 7th month, she has to stay away from her husband. But she has, one second. When was my last interval cycle? She starts thinking about it. Because remember, there's so many of them. She only has to remember the last one. But she doesn't remember the last one. So she thinks the last one might have been a 25-day cycle. No, she says, no, it can't be. Maybe it's a 26-day cycle. No, it can't be. Maybe it's a 27-day cycle. No, it can't. 28, 29-day cycle. She doesn't really remember what is the last interval that she saw. She doesn't remember. Over there, it's very possible for women to forget because, like I explained, the interval cycle is always jumping. It's never the same. Because if it's once, it's going to be the same. The halachot are completely different, which we're not going to speak about it yet. So therefore, since it's very possible for her to forget the last interval cycle, now let's say in our situation, after 6 months of seeing Vesa Flagot that were constantly changing, now in the 7th month, when does she stay away from her husband? So she remembers it might have been the 24. It might have been every 24 days. That the last time she saw was a 24-day cycle, interval cycle. But no, maybe 25. No, maybe 26, maybe 27, maybe 28, maybe 29. So in a second, now she doesn't know. Are we going to go ahead and are we going to say that every single day that she has a doubt, maybe that's the Vesda Haflagot, and now you have to stay away from her. So if she thinks it's the 24th, you stay away from her. 25th, stay away from her. 26, 27, 28, 29, stay away from all of her. That means 6 days you can have relations with your wife. That's nuts. What are we going to do, Rabotai, with such a lady? If she forgot, that's why a husband needs to learn the halachot. He also has to help his wife count. She's not the only one in the relationship. You are also in the relationship. So this is what we're going to try to see today, Bezrat Hashem. So comes Rav David Yosef and he says, Isha sheshakacha matai huzman ha'haflaga ha'achrona shel Vesta. A woman forgot when was the last interval cycle that she saw. She doesn't remember. Was it the 24-day cycle? 25, 26? She doesn't remember. However, he says, וזוכרת רק את תאריך וסתה האחרון. She remembers the date of the last Vesta. She remembers that she saw in the 6th month, she saw on the 15th of the month. Beautiful. However, וספיקה נמשך על פני ימים רבים. But her doubt, what was the interval cycle? It continues on many days. It could have been 24, it could have been 25, it could have been 26-day cycle, it could have been a 27-day cycle, it could have been a 28, it could have been 29. She doesn't remember. What do we do? Do we say the husband has to stay away from her all whole week? Torture him, huh? You guys would be surprised how many phone calls I get where wives trying to teach their husbands lessons by not going to the mikveh and not having relations with their husband. Mazgi, don't do it. A very, very grave sin on the woman's part. You're not allowed to torture your husband like that. Comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says, Ein tzarich lifrosh memenu kol hayamim shebayim yesh safik shema hem onat vesta. Comes Rav David Yosef Shlita, look what he says. You don't need to separate from her all those days that she has a doubt in them. Maybe is the interval cycle day. You don't have to be afraid of it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the last time she really saw was a 24-day cycle? And now on the 24th day, you're having relations. Maybe she's on the 25th day. Maybe it was really 25-day cycle. So now you're probably sleeping with her on the 25th day, which is her interval cycle. Maybe on the 26th day, maybe on the 27th day. Each day could be her last cycle that she saw. Nevertheless, Rav David Yosef Shlita tells you, you don't have to separate from your wife at all those days. Look how beautiful Torah is, Rabotai. A guy who wouldn't learn this halacha, the wife would come to him and she would tell him, babe, I forgot my last Vesta Haflaga. He says, when was it? She says, I don't know. It was maybe the 24th, maybe the 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So the guy, Chasid Shoteh. That's it, I'm not sleeping with you a whole week. An idiot. To go ahead and hold that back from your wife and from yourself. He says, Ein tzarich lifrosh mimena kol hayamim shebehem yeshavik shemahem onad vesta. You do not need to separate from your wife all those days that she has a doubt maybe is the interval cycle. Good, it's only a maybe, so therefore I don't have to separate. When I'm sleeping with her on the 24th, maybe her cycle was really the 25th. When I'm sleeping with her on the 25th, maybe the cycle was on the 26th. When I'm sleeping with her on the 26th, maybe the cycle was on the 27th. When I'm sleeping with her on the 27th, maybe the cycle was the 28th. When I'm sleeping with her on the 28th, maybe the cycle was on the 29th. When I'm sleeping with her on the 29th, maybe the cycle was on the 25th. How do I know? Since you have a doubt, you could sleep with her. Every time you're allowed to go out and sleep with her. You know, there is halakha in Shulchan Aruch in Yoredeya in Basar Chalaf. If I have a person, you know, sometimes you go to these baseball games and basketball games, and they sell hot dogs over there. I don't know. I've never been there, but let's say they have a whole kosher hot dog stand, for example. So you go, you buy yourself 2 hot dogs, and then you have a friend or a worker who's not Jewish. They bought themselves a hot dog, not in buns, just like say hot dogs. I just want to make it simple. What happens? He comes with his hot dog. So you have a plate in front of you. You have 2 hot dogs, and he has his own hot dog. So he's a chacham. He says, if you're holding the plate, I might as well put my hot dog with you. He puts the hot dog while looking at the game. You didn't pay attention which hot dog it is. He didn't pay attention with which hot dog it is. Are you allowed to eat the hot dogs? What do you guys think? You're allowed to eat the hot dogs. Why? Because if I have 3 hot dogs, which one of them is not kosher? I don't know. Each one I have a doubt. Maybe this one. Maybe this is not the kosher one. Good. So if this is not the kosher one, I'm going to eat this one. So now when I'm eating this one, maybe this is not kosher. When I'm eating this one, maybe this is not kosher. So all the time I'm able to say maybe they're not kosher is the other hot dog. But you're going to tell me, Rabbi, well, what happens if you consumed all 3? You're right. If you consume all 3, then we're going to say you already consumed a not kosher hot dog. But we're going to tell you, eat 2 out of 3. So not to have the problem, because when I'm eating 2 out of 3, what's going to end up happening? I'm eating this one. So let's say I have 3 hot dogs. Let's say one of them is not kosher. I don't know. So at the time when I'm eating this, you can't tell me that this is not kosher, because maybe this is not kosher. So good, I could eat it. Even though it was not kosher, I could eat it. Now go to the second hot dog. Maybe it's not kosher. No, maybe this is not kosher. So then I could eat this hot dog. And I want to give it to him not to have any problems. What am I trying to show you? Like in our situation over here, whenever you have a doubt, maybe it could be the other day, maybe it could be the other day, maybe it could be the other day, that's what we're going to tell you. You're allowed to go ahead and have relations with your wife. Rabotai, this is why I always tell people, when you learn halachot the proper way, when you actually learn halachot, not stories, when you learn halachot, your life, religion is a privilege. Religion is beautiful. Because look the things that it allows you. A person who never ask anybody this halakha, Rabotai, believe me, they're not going to know. These halachot, Rabotai, you have to learn in order to know. In any event. Bottom line, we see from over here, the husband is allowed to sleep with her on all those days that she has a doubt on them. Maybe each day is her last vested haflaga that she saw. We're not concerned. We're not worried. It's a maybe by you. It's a for sure by me. So therefore we can have relations. Let's continue. Meaning say maybe by you don't know if it's it. If it's it, by me it's for sure it's not it. Let's continue. However, Rav David Yosef does say, "Umikol makom, nevertheless, tzarich lifrosh memena be'ona benuni." But you do need to separate from her on the average ona. Da'aynu b'yom shloshim, which means to say on the 30th day, miyom tichlat riyatah ha'achron, from the beginning of the last time that she saw her. She can't derech rov nashim l'rod b'shloshim yom l'shloshim yom, because the way of woman is to see every 30 days. V'lachen yom ha'shloshim nidon esla ki'ilu hu yom vesta ha'kavuam. So therefore we're going to look at the 30th day, we're going to judge the 30th day as if it's her established cycle. So this woman that doesn't remember her last vesta ha'flaga, no problem. Next time around, which day does she have to separate? She doesn't have to separate. Just one day, we're going to tell her to separate from her husband, and that's going to be the day which is on the Benunit. I also want to add, in my humble opinion, if the Vestet HaChodesh, the date of the month, comes first, whichever one comes first, that's what you should really be afraid for. But according to Rav David Yosef is saying that it's only every 30 days. According to him, probably even the Vestet HaChodesh, you don't have to be worried for. But I spoke to a very big Talmid Chacham, Posek. He said even Vestet HaChodesh, if it comes before the only Benunit, you should definitely take that into consideration. Because we're only allowing you to overlook the doubts that you have on the Haflaga, not the doubts that you had on the Vestet HaChodesh. On that you don't have a doubt. So keep it. You understand? Okay, so therefore, let's put it like this. When it comes to the Vestet HaFlagot, since you have a doubt in them, we're going to tell you you're allowed to sleep with your husband. But the Vestet HaChodesh and the Only Benunit, since you're sure when they're coming, whichever one is going to come first, go ahead and stay away from your husband accordingly to what you saw last time. If you saw during the day, stay away during the day. If you saw during the night, stay away from him during the night. Okay. Rabotai, review. A woman has a veset that normally follows a pattern. But here she forgot the time of her last haflaga, which means the interval between one period and the next. She only remembers the date of her last period. Now, because she doesn't remember the interval, there's uncertainty about when her next period is due. That creates a doubt spread across many possible days. The practical ruling, even though the doubt covers many possible days, she does not, Rabotai, I repeat, she does not need to separate from her husband all of those days. That would be too strict and not required. Instead, she must separate only on the Ona Benunit average cycle day. What is Ona Benunit? The sages establish a general rule. Since most women menstruate once every 30 days, every woman must be concerned for day 30 after the start of her last period. That day is treated as if it were her set vested day. Therefore, she and her husband must separate on day 30 both day and night of that Ona. No. So this, Rabotai, let me make this clear. No, not end. Not end, my bad. Let me take that away, Rabotai. Not end, or. That's what I was mentioning above, or. Therefore, she and her husband must separate on day 30 both. Not both, let's take that away. Day or night of that Ona. That's it. Okay, Rabotai, we're going to put it like that. That means to say, if a woman saw in the last Riyah, in the last seeing, she saw during the day, on the 30th day, she's going to stay away from her husband on day 30. If she saw the last Riyah on the night, we're going to say on day 30, she's going to stay away from her husband at night. Okay, Rabotai, this is it. Just make sure you guys have this clear. I don't want nobody making a mistake. This is not a joke. Niddah is not a joke, Rabotai. Niddah is life and death. So one more time. Therefore, she and her husband must separate on day 30, day or night of that Ona, of her original Ona that she saw last time. She has to apply it to day 30. Fine. In short, Rabotai, if a woman forgets the exact interval between cycles, but remembers the date of her last period, she does not need to separate across all possible uncertain days. She does need to separate on day 30, the Ona Benunit. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai.